And did you ever look at some of the questions and go, how the hell am I going to ask OJ Simpson that or whoever? But
like the first year I was doing the interviews, I was like, how am I going to do this? And I just did it.
This is asking, are your kids the most important thing in your life?
Oh, boy.
Don't you wish people would leave you alone for the sake of your children? Come on, OJ, can't you answer a couple questions? I just want to ask about your kids, you know, what's going on?
Man, you guys are not supposed to be out here. I'm going to make a citizen's arrest and take this stuff. You're going
to make a citizen's arrest on me?
Yeah, I'm going to take this stuff here.
Yeah?
All right, I'm holding you. Call, get the marshal.
Get the marshal?
We'll see who's wrong. We'll see who's wrong.
Get the marshal right now?
We'll see who's wrong.
You think there will come a day that you'll be vindicated of the horrible crimes of which you've been accused? We will, but don't. He's grabbing the mic. He's grabbing.
We'll see which one of you guys are wrong.
Let's play our game.
I'm just asking a couple questions.
But you're illegally here, and I've told you you're illegally here, and you won't leave, so we'll wait till the marshals come and see what they do.
I just want to ask you a couple questions. Can I ask you after you're around?
You hear these other grown golfers telling you to leave us alone.
Please?
Come on, OJ, just let me ask. Come on, man. Hey, man.
Hey, why don't y'all put the camera down?
What?
Why don't y'all put the camera down?
Tell me about these OJ ones, because they're hilarious.
Well, me and OJ have a weird history. My dad went to USC. My first football game I ever saw was at the Coliseum with OJ Simpson. My dad took me to the game. Big OJ Simpson fan. My whole life. So anyways, you know, he gets acquitted, but he gets kicked off the private golf courses out here. Like he used to play at Riviera Country Club. He can't, you know, they threw him out. So he had to play public golf courses. So anyways, every Monday, me and my buddies would go play this course called Knollwood in Granada Hills. OJ played it every Monday. So we'd run into him almost every Monday. And he'd come up to us real friendly. How'd you play? How'd you shoot? How you doing? You know? And then, we're playing all right. How'd you do? Oh, I 3-putted 4 greens, and blah, blah. You know, he'd come, you know, start rapping with us. So this is like right before I started doing the interviews with Howard. This is like 96. So when I started doing the interviews with Howard in 97, I'm like, I'd already talked to OJ probably a half a dozen times. Just talk to him, you know, about golf or whatever. And I was like, I can interview OJ. He'll talk to me. He likes me. He loves me. He comes up to me every time he sees me. So I hit Baba Booey up. I said, you want me to interview OJ? And I'm like, he goes, of course. So the first time I interviewed him, you know, I just asked him, you know, straight questions, except for at the end, where I asked him if he had any advice for getting blood stains out. And he sort of lopped his marbles there. But about 6 months later, that's when the fight went down, where I basically just walked up to him he was teeing off on the 17th tee box. And there was like a street, like a public street that you could park between the 16th and the 17th holes. So we parked right there and waited for him to come up. And he drove right up to the 17th tee box. And I just started asking him questions. And then, you know, the famous one was, you know, are you sharpening your knives in case you get remarried? And that's when all hell broke loose. He never wanted to do an interview with me again after that. I sort of blew it. I ran into him about 3 or 4 more times after that. And I just sort of harass him and stalk him and shit like that. But, you know, it was great. And then the one funny thing is that when he got busted in Vegas, I went to his preliminary hearing and got a court seat inside the court. And during a break, he looks over at me and waves me up and waves me like this during a court break. And I'm like, walk up to him. He goes, I heard you're not working for Howard anymore. And at the time, I still was. He goes, no. I said, no, I still am. He goes, got anything to say to Howard? He goes, no, but I listen to him in my Ford Bronco every now and then. And it was just like, and I go, well, good luck with everything. It was crazy, man. It was just like really bizarre. So, yeah, it was. That's probably my most infamous interview for sure, I would say.
He was such a strange man because obviously he had the world by the balls. He could do what he had to do no wrong. And then, I mean, it's like Bill Cosby, all these people that you see on TV and then they go on trial and afterwards, you know, he's looking for a friend to talk to on the golf course. Gary Garver, fine, I'll talk to Gary. Shit, you know, it's so hilarious. Well, Howard,
it was really surreal. I mean, it was surreal. It was like a year after the acquittal. And, just weird seeing him. You're like, holy shit, that's OJ, And then he would start talking to us, me and my buddies, and we're just like, we would trip out. And even my friends, man, OJ really likes you, Garrett. I go, I know, it's weird, man. It's so strange. But, it worked out to my benefit because, like I said, once I started doing the interviews, I was like, I knew this was going to be gold. In fact, when Howard played, he goes, we have Christmas in October, and it was really cool. So that's probably my most infamous one, not my favorite one, but my most infamous one for sure.
And again, you can see this on YouTube. I'm sure that's your channel. It's so great. So check that out. Look I'll link it in this description. I still love the OJ interview. I went back and watched it again. You had this relationship with OJ. Like, you started with the golf course with him. Have you run into him lately? You're still alive, so obviously you probably haven't.
I haven't run into OJ for a long time. Last time I saw OJ was at his preliminary hearing in Las Vegas. I actually went out there and got into the courtroom, and it was a preliminary hearing before he got convicted of armed robbery. And the strangest thing is that I'm sitting in the courtroom, they take a break, and OJ turns around and waves at me and points his finger and waves me over. And I was like, hey, OJ, how you doing? He goes, I heard you're not working for Howard anymore. And at that time, it was, I think, 2007, 2008, I was still working for Howard. I go, no, I'm still working for him. And I go, do you have anything to say to him? He goes, no, but every now and then I listen to him in my Ford Bronco. I am not joking. He actually said that. So that was the last time I saw OJ. So that was about 15, 16 years ago. But yeah, we had a weird dynamic for a few years there. And one of my favorite interviews, one of my craziest interviews was interviewing OJ and fighting with him on the golf course when I asked him if he was sharpening his knives in case he got remarried. And you can check that out on YouTube. And I play that every now and then on my show.
Yeah, that's your YouTube channel. You can check out Gary has his own channel. Was that a question that you came up with, or was it a Howard question?
No, Howard always, listen, the one thing that I got to tell everybody and reiterate is that I never asked a question that the Howard Stern people did not write. I never went off script. I had a list of questions. And yeah, that was a question that Howard wrote, or Jackie or Artie or whoever it was. But I never went off script. Every question I asked was from the Howard Stern show. So don't think I'm the crazy mother effer that wrote those questions. I never wrote one of them. I never did, and I never went off script. I always asked what they asked me to ask. And, sometimes it went good and sometimes it went not so good.
It's very brave. I don't know if I have the balls to just walk up to celebrities and ask questions that are just like insane like that. I guess you have those type. Any time where did you look at them when they send them and you're like, I can't. How am I gonna? Or you're like, screw it. I'm just asking them.
Yeah, I did it many times. In fact, one of the first interviews I ever did was Evel Knievel. I was at a boat show. I was with my future ex-wife, and it was at the LA Convention Center. It was like probably the third or fourth interview I'd done for Howard. And I'm thinking that, Evel Knievel, the red, white, and blue jumpsuit, Mr. Bravado, all this stuff. And I see him walking in. I see this old man walking in with like a walker. And I turn to my future wife and I go, I think that's Evel Knievel. It's like, she goes, yeah, I think it is too. And I go, I can't ask him these questions. And she goes, well, don't ask him. I go, well, it's my job. I have to. And I actually asked him, a couple of questions. It was a great interview. If you haven't heard it, I play it every now and then. But one of the questions I asked him was, what was worse, jumping the Grand Canyon or getting a divorce? And he goes, no. I didn't jump the Grand Canyon. I jumped the Snake River Canyon. Ask me again. I go, what was worse, jumping the Snake River Canyon or getting the divorce? And then he goes, well, what does one thing have to do with the other? And then the following question was, have you ever broken your penis in an accident? And he goes, what? What kind of stupid fucking question is that? That's really stupid. I go, thanks, Evel. And then, so yeah, there was a few questions. There's a couple of times that I saw the questions and I actually did not ask the question because I thought it was just way too rude or just way too overboard. But I'd say probably 95 to 98% of the time, I was like a great white shark. I mean, I was going through a rough time in my life. I just, fuck it. I'm going in there like a great white shark. And that's how I approached it. And that's why I was able to do it. I don't think I could do it now. I don't think I could go out there and ask crazy ass questions now. It's way beyond. But back then, I was angry. I was pissed. I hated life, and I didn't give a fuck. And that's how I did it. And actually, it worked out to my benefit, because not giving a fuck, the only way you can do that is not giving a fuck and not caring. And that's how I approached it.
Yeah, it feels like something you can really only do in your 20s and early 30s. You get into your 40s and 50s, and you sort of have to grow up.
So it was sort of a weird dynamic of how it all worked. It was crazy, but I mean, 10 years of it. In fact, it's weird because I left the show in 2008 under, basically Howard fired me for doing what I was supposed to do, get in trouble. I mean, the only time he really played the interviews was when people yelled at me or was an A-lister. If people were cool with me, he didn't play them. So he played literally probably about 30% of the interviews I did. But out of the blue, they fired me in 2008 or whatever. But this year, crazily, I got a holiday card from Howard.
Wow. And
out of the blue, Brad. And it said, it was from New York. And I'm like, what's this from New York? And it was it wasn't a Christmas card. It was a holiday card. And it said, remember us? And it said, happy holidays. Love, Beth and Howard and the cats and a rabbit too. Well, he wasn't signed, but it was like, wow, how did he get after 13, 14 years or 15 years, whatever it was, I get this holiday card from him. Remember us, it's kind of weird.
Therapy's going well, seemingly, for him, finally, after 70 years old.
Yeah, he's making amends with everybody now. He was in therapy when I was working on the show back in the early 90s. So, it was kind of weird. It's kind of strange to get a holiday card. And then I sent one back, and I go, hey, of course I remember you. Great times. Thank you for putting me on the map. Wish all the best for you. But it was kind of bizarre after 14 years. I was like, how do you know I lived in Palm Springs? I mean, they had to track me down basically to get my address.
Now, I didn't ask this last time. I didn't have enough time. Did you sell a gift that Howard gave to you on eBay? Did that happen? And is my memory wrong? Yeah. Tell me about that. And how did that go for you?
I mean, listen, at that time, it was 2011, 2012. I was kind of hurting for money. I was sort of struggling financially. And I was just like, screw it, man. I mean, I went on eBay and, somebody told me you should sell Howard's crap. I mean, it was just sitting there. I was never going to wear the watch. It was a huge watch. And I put it on eBay just for shit and giggles. And then somebody bought it for $1,500. So I was like, I just didn't care at that point. I mean, it was like I said, I needed the money. And, I had no allegiance towards Howard. I was pissed off at the whole show for basically abandoning me for doing what I was supposed to do, was bust balls on celebrities and events. And they let me go, which is fine. But I had no allegiance. But I sold out on eBay. Yeah, it was a watch that he had given me for a Christmas present. We used to exchange Christmas presents. I used to go and give him I used to buy him a case of wine from Paso Robles and send it all the way to New York. And they'd send me gifts. It was weird. But it is what it is. But I did sell that. And I think I sold a couple things of his that he had sent me.
Well, let's get together. What else you got? Let's start a swap shop right here.
I have a tie, I think, the Howard Stern private parts tie. I've got, I don't know. It's all buried in, when I moved, there's tons of shit I got. I don't even know what I have, but, hey, listen, it was a great run. I got nothing but love for Howard. I mean, he allows me to play I play my celebrity interviews on my show. I play my Dark Nihilist interview, which is one of the most famous interviews I did. OJ, Jack Nicholson, Joe Pesci, Morgan Freeman, the list goes on and on and on, but he allows me to play it. I'm probably the only person in America, or one of the only people in America on terrestrial radio that actually has Howard Stern on his show every now and then, because I play where I called into the show and he's talking to me about doing the interviews, and, so it's kind of cool. And he's never done a cease and desist. And I really appreciate that. So it's kind of cool. And we have this weird, I guess we have a weird relationship because I got a holiday card from him. So it is kind of weird.
No, you're right. I mean, no one who's, gone by him or passed him over has gotten one of those. So your last call, was it in 2009? Because I know you got fired around 2008. I was looking this up, and you still, Howard was trying to make amends, and you're like, F you, no, I'm mad, I'm still pissed. I think it was great radio, and then Gary comes in, and Baba Booey, that's what I love about you, is like, you're like, no, F you, I'm still pissed.
Well, I mean, what happened is that, I was, after 2006, I left KLSX after I'd been working there for 17 years. It was a classic rock station in Los Angeles, and then it became a talk station, and I had a talk show and stuff like that. And I basically left in 2006 when Howard left to go to Sirius. And I decided back in 2006 I wanted to be a producer of shows, of these reality TV shows. It was just first starting, and I thought I knew all these porn stars and adult stars. I'm like, why don't I follow around a porn star and see how they really live? Are they just psychos, or do they have millions, or are they a bunch of whores, or they got family, kids, whatever? So I created this thing called A Day in the Life of a Porn Star. Me and my buddy Robert Sanchez, who you might have met doing filming over at Escape.tv, because I think that's where we originally met, was Escape.tv. So we decided to create a reality TV show, and I pitched it to Howard. Well, actually, I pitched it to Doug Goodstein, who was a producer of Howard TV at the time. He loved the idea. We went back 6 months. Back and forth 6 months, emails. We shot 2 of them. And we actually talked to a lawyer. We had a conference call with my attorney about how much they were going to pay us and how many episodes we were going to do. We actually did one. We both did one we went to Vegas and shot. They brought a crew from New York. Howard TV brought a crew from New York. I brought my crew from Los Angeles. I was like, wow, this is really happening, man. This is really effing happening. This was like 2007. And then all of a sudden, they just blew it off and didn't pay me a penny, didn't give me anything, just completely blew it off, and then started doing some episodes with Bigfoot and Miss Black Howard Stern and a couple, and Jessica Hahn, and A Day in the Life of Jessica Hahn, Day in the Life of Bigfoot. Now, I didn't have the Day in the Life, copyright or whatever. But the bottom line is I didn't get paid anything. I spent 6 months, me and Robert spent 6 months going back and forth with them. If they said, no, we didn't want to do it, we would have never wasted our time. So that's what really pissed me off. I've gotten over it, but that was the one thing I was like, wow, Howard just signed a $100 million 5-year contract, $500 million, and they couldn't even throw me a bone. They couldn't throw me like a couple thousand. Hey, here's for your hard work. I got 0. And then Doug Goodstein acted like he never even spoke to me. And that's what really pissed me off. And that's why I sort of like sabotaged myself with the show. I said, fuck them. They're going to treat me like this. And I don't know if it was Howard. Like I said, me and Howard are cool and all that. It's water over the bridge. I'm just explaining how it came about that I was pissed off and left the show. And that was really the essence of me leaving the show.
Are you listening to the show these days? Are you a lifer and keep?
No.
There's reasons.
Yeah, I haven't listened to the show. No, I haven't heard one bit from the show since I left in 2008. I have not heard one word of it. I swear to God, I just haven't. People tell me, "Oh, Gary, I heard your OJ interview. I heard your Dark Nihilist interview," or blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Oh, really cool." They're still playing my shit, I guess. But no. Once I left, I was gone, and I have not heard any of it. Have you?
Do you? Darth Nihilus. I am attempting to see if people here want to have a rundown of the show, so I put a rundown of what's gone on. I don't listen, so now I have Sirius back because I have a free subscription for the next 6 months. It's torturous, I'd say. It's not what it used to be, it just... It's not something I'd be seeking out, to be honest, unless there's an interview that I want to hear. I just don't. Him and Robin just bantering and some of the stuff they banter about, I don't know. I'm interested on how people still enjoy it. It's weird.
Well, listen, you evolve, and he's been doing it for 1,000 years. And, like I said, I haven't heard the show since 2008. People have told me it's not the same. I don't know. Hey, listen, everybody changes. Everybody does their own thing. But I don't think he can be as hardcore now as he was back then, because he's got a lot more to lose. He's got to deal with a lot more personalities over at Sirius, a lot more celebrities, things like that. So he can't just rake on celebrities and doing all that. And I don't think he wants to. Just like me, I wouldn't want to go out and do the celebrity interviews anymore. I mean, I stopped doing that I kept on doing it until about 2017, but I just go to like one event on Oscar night of 100 stars. And they knew me, and I wasn't like busting balls, like asking really rude questions. I was asking sort of far out questions, but you evolve, and I think he's evolved, and I think I don't know if he gives a shit or not. He probably does. He still wants to do great radio, but I'll say one thing: the guy is the Michael Jordan of radio, talk radio. I mean, there's no one in his class really that did what he did back in the day. I don't know now, but when I was working with him, it was amazing. He's an amazing broadcaster.
Yeah, in your days, you worked at KSLX in L.A., and you were kind of producing the show, so I assume you had to pretty much listen to the whole thing from the time you were working there, right? And so as I asked this, what's your favorite era? Artie, Jackie? Can you disseminate between those two from the time that you were listening?
I mean, I like them both. I consider them both. I don't know if you say friends, acquaintances, whatever. But when I hung out with them, I hung out with both of them a few times, and they're both really nice guys. I like them. Nothing but love for them. Jackie wrote a lot of Howard's material, from what I understand, from how it was explained to me. I don't know exactly what Artie did, except for maybe just be a co-host, but. Like I said, I have nothing but love for those two guys and for the show. I mean, I got no one really to say anything bad about. They were all good people. We always had a good time together. And I don't like Doug Goodstein. I think he's a effing liar. But I heard he got fired. Like they blew out Howard TV about a year after they did what they did to me. So I was I'll be honest with you, I was kind of happy to hear they blew out Howard TV and blew out Doug. I didn't like what Doug did to me. Doug was a complete douche, lying motherfucker. And if there's one person I can't stand, it's Doug Goodstein. He's a fucking liar. And until he apologizes and kisses my toes, unwashed toes, that is, he can kiss my ass. I mean, that was the one person that really fucked me as far as I was concerned.
No holiday cards, I guess.
No holiday cards from, no, not at all. Not from Doug Goodstein. But the rest of them, hey, listen, everybody's cool. Like I said, I'm very blessed to be able to play bits from the show, and like I said, I guess Howard and I are good because I can't believe that he sent me that card. That's just a mind blower to me. I mean, that was really amazing. I was like, whoa! And then it said, "Remember us." I'm like, wow. So I guess we're cool.
Yeah, and I mentioned this last time that, Stuttering John, you were kind of the L.A. Stuttering John. He was asking the questions in New York and had a stutter. Do you keep up with him at all? I mean, that's a guy probably not getting a holiday card from Howard, I don't think.
No, not after he tried it. I don't know if you heard, but he tried to sue the show. He filed a lawsuit against Howard because Howard, I guess, was using his material, and John wanted money for that because he was a part of the show. So he thought he was, I'm like, are you give me a fucking break, John? You're a fucking idiot. You were a small part of the show. And it was years ago. And to try to sue Howard, I mean, it's like, trying to sue like Donald Trump and you're like me, you know what I mean? It's not going to happen. You're not going to get anywhere. So no, I haven't seen John in a few years. I saw him John's kind of weird. I'll tell a quick story. I saw him at the Sagebrush Cantina in Calabasas a few years ago, and we were hanging out, and he'd get a Corona, smoke a cigarette, smoke half the cigarette, drink half the Corona, and then put out the cigarette in the Corona, and then order another one, and would do the same exact thing again. He did it about 5 times, and I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy?
I guess, I was going back to my question about listening. Were you an actual fan, though, like back in the day? Or were you enjoying the show? Was that like a great dream job that you got to sit and your job was to work on this show and listen to it kind of meticulously, or no?
Well, I mean, it was my first real full-time job in radio back in 1991. So, yeah, I was kind of ecstatic about doing it. I mean, I had to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, to pick up the feed live at 3 a.m. So that's 5 days a week, working from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. I, completely screwed up my whole being and thought process. And I did that for 15 years. But I mean, the thrill of it was, being a part of this radio show, a new concept. Nobody thought it was going to work in Los Angeles because it was taped. It was on tape delay. rebroadcast in LA, and everybody at the radio station, I remember all the jocks, all the Jim Lads of the world, and all these guys said, hey, it's never going to work, blah, blah, blah. And in a year's time, we were the #1 morning show in Los Angeles, and we kicked Mark and Brian's ass. So, yeah, that was exciting. That was cool. So, yeah, I mean, when I first listened to the show, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? This guy's nuts. And, and even Dion, who was working with me, he was doing the board, and I was in the 2-track producing the show, on reel-to-reel tape and cutting it and getting it ready for the rebroadcast. He was like, man, we were like, who the fuck is this guy? This guy's nuts, man. When it first started out, but in a year's time, we were the #1 show in Los Angeles. So yeah, that was a big thrill. And then, being on the show and being a part of the show and having him call in to me and, having me do the interview. So yeah, it was an amazing run. I'll say it was an amazing run, 16 years of it. But I wasn't a fan at first, but it sort of grows on you. The show sort of grows on you, and then you take it with a grain of salt. You don't take everything personal, because a lot of people take shit personal there on the show.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, if you're a listener, did you have a favorite moment that didn't involve you, that you just think back driving in or listening or cutting the tape going, wow, I can't believe I'm listening to this?
Geez,
put you on the spot.
I listened to every friggin' show. It was like in one ear and out the other, to tell you the truth. I can't. Sam Kinison was always cool. Always loved listening to Sam Kinison be on the show. Who else? Just some of the bits that he did. I like the news. I like Robin's news. I always thought that was kind of cool. The girls and all that crap. I was just like, that got sort of old, but I liked when he was doing celebrity interviews with some of these people and stuff like that. I like when Trump would call in. That was kind of cool. Like Trump and Howard on the air together. That was, yeah, I like that part. I mean, so I just can't even, tell you the truth, Brad. It was so long ago. I can't even think about it.
And it's funny, though, what I was thinking about today, listening to the show, I miss Fred, like Fred and the drops. And as you mentioned, Robin doesn't really do news, but Fred was always there, and he still has them, and they're still there, but everything is so scaled back. But Fred, there was a moment where Artie heard a porn lady going, ow, yeah, and it just led into this hour-long bit, and then Jackie laugh. All you did, you'd have a story about Susan Smith driving her kids and you'd hear hee, and then you're just laughing. You're not supposed to laugh at that, but you're laughing because you got the Jackie drop. But
you know why? Because what Jackie would laugh. That Jackie laugh was because Jackie would give Howard a piece of paper, slide Howard a piece of paper. That's how he wrote. He basically, and then Howard would either read it or not read it. So when you heard Howard do this terrible, wording on something or talk about something that was terrible, and you heard Jackie laugh, that's because Jackie had written that for Howard. Right. He's like, and I was told that by Andy Bloom, who's the program director at KLSX, and told me how the whole thing worked. But yeah, it was just so out of control, and Fred's drops were amazing, and just the whole show. It's a dynamic show. All the help that they have and all the things that they do. It's like I said, he's the Michael Jordan of broadcasting, no doubt.
Yeah. James Garner hit you with a cane. Tell me some times where you were frightened. He's an old man at that time, but were there any times where you?
Yeah, sometimes there was a couple times there was bodyguards that got into my face, and a couple security guards that got into my face and things like that. But nothing where there was going to be any blows. They were just like I said, a couple times they get upset with me. Of course, they get upset with me and trip out. And if they got in my face or they touched me, I didn't care if he threw me out. I didn't say, get the fuck out, blah, blah, blah. I didn't care about that. But when they grabbed me or tried to grab me, I said, don't touch me. Don't touch me. I'll leave. Just tell me to leave, but don't touch me, because I didn't dig that. That was the only time that I got upset. It happened maybe a dozen times over 10 years. And but nothing where there was any blows. I never got arrested. I never had the cops come and chase me down. Nothing. In fact, one of the events I used to go to, there were sheriff deputies all around it. I went to it a half a dozen times, got thrown out of it 5 out of the 6, and those guys were laughing about it. So it was, it was pretty. And LAPD Celebrity Golf Tournament, went there a bunch of times, got Jack Nicholson, Joe Pesci, a bunch of different interviews. And I got thrown out of there 3 or 4 times, but the cops didn't do anything either. I mean, they just said, go, please leave, and I'd leave. So it was when the public, the people that took themselves too serious were the publicists and the security guards. They would get upset with me and they would just flip out. But the security guards sometimes, a handful of times, there was, they'd touch me and I'd say, don't touch me, I'll leave. And then they'd take their hands off of me and I'd leave. And that was it.